What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show. Also, 2018 Innovation Award recipient from the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Like to say, always you're blessed, highly favored, and magnet for miracles and a solution for someone's problem. This is the home of Epic Conversations, and I am the host of Epic Conversations. And we just lost our special guest. We lost your camera, so we need you back on. But we are here to host another epic conversation. And LeRon, we need you to have better reception because you can only see a picture right now.
Okay, can you see me now?
No. We see your
Really?
picture,
Oh.
but we don't see you.
Okay, I'm gonna try to jump. I'm gonna jump off, and I'm gonna try to jump back on it. All right.
Okay, we'll start the conversation and let you jump in.
I can see.
Okay,
Now?
now we can see you. There we go. That's the best out of everything. Was worth the wait. Tonight,
Fantastic.
well, this is like a reunion, so to speak. Both these gentlemen are on a audio epic conversation I do every Sunday evening, most Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern time, called Do You Know What Time It Is?, where I get black male thought leaders to provide comments, opinions, and opine about news stories and current events. They haven't been on over the last few weeks because LeRon is a TEDx speaker, so we're just
Nice.
for us, and they haven't been getting my emails. So I've got probably half of the regular crew of Do You Know What Time It Is back, but tonight is LeRon's night, and also welcome to Melvin. He's already in the room. LeRon is here to talk about another one of his great articles called Why I Don't Code Switch. I'd like to thank, we lost you again, LeRon, just to make you know. We've got Leah in the room. We've got Gray in the room. We got Bobby in the room. We got Jade in the room. And I know more people will be coming in. And also there'll be people coming in on Periscope also. So LeRon, while you're trying to, you know what? I'm going to let Melvin. No, LeRon, I think we've got you. Well, we had him.
All right. All right, great, cool.
Lost
Do you see me right now?
Yes, we do. All right.
Fantastic.
So
That's
LeRon,
me.
while we can see you, can you give a little background about yourself?
Yes. My name is LeRon Barton. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. I live in San Francisco, California, and I'm a writer, author of 2 books. My first book is Straight Dope, a 360-degree look into American drug culture. My second book is All We Really Need Is Love, stories of dating, relationships, heartbreak, and marriage. Both these books are available on Amazon. I write essays on race, mass incarceration, politics, as well as dating. My essays have appeared in Salon, BuzzFeed, Ravishly, East Bay, Express. I've been quoted in Newsweek. SF Bayview. And I've appeared on Al Jazeera's The Stream. And recently I am a TEDx speaker. So
There you go.
And I love hamburgers. So I just want everybody to know that.
Well said. Well said. And also hanging out in the room with us is Melvin Lars. Melvin, give a little background on yourself, please.
Good evening, Dr. Vibe and
Always,
Brother
man.
LeRon. It's a pleasure being here with these 2 gentlemen. My name is Melvin Lars. I'm founder CEO of Brighter Futures Incorporated. We do a multiplicity of things, so I won't bore you with those things because LeRon has already set the stage with his excitement. I'm just happy to be
Excellent.
here
Thank you
sharing
so
with
much.
these gentlemen
And we
this
do have
evening.
one spot available. We've got people watching on YouTube, Periscope, and the Get Vocal platform. It's also being live audio streamed via another platform. So there's many ways you can catch out this epic conversation live. LeRon, let's get right to it. Why did you write this article? It doesn't surprise me that you wrote it, but why did you write this article?
I know, right? Like, I'm always like, kicking up dust, as they say, in Southside KC. Dr. Bob Melvin, what I wanted to do was I wanted to write an article about why I talk the way I talk, why I am not going to change the way I talk, and just how I became very comfortable with myself. As we all know, Black people, as I say in the article, and this really goes for like any like non-white group, we're all bilingual. So what that means is that we talk one way with the folks, and we talk another way around corporate America, around white folks, yada yada. But, you know, at some point we have to stop sort of straddling both worlds, and we have to just sort of be one way. So the piece was just about my journey to sort of realizing that, you know what, like there's nothing wrong with the way that with the way that I talk. I love slang. I've been speaking it since I was yay high to a grasshopper. And so I just decided like that. Well, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I realized that was my most authentic self, and I wanted to represent who I am 100% of the time. And, you know, a lot of that is, you know, speaking in slang and just, you know, sort of like moving and grooving like that. And so I totally rebuff respectability politics and just, you know, I am who I am, like it or love it. Hello, Dr. Vibe.
When did you start thinking about writing this article?
You know, I had thought about writing this article about 2 years ago. Like I always have like a lot of different ideas. I mean, I've got so many different ideas floating in my head, Dr. Bob. And I just felt like that I hadn't written anything in maybe a month or two. And I just felt that, okay, well, you know, this is the time to, you know, write this piece. You know, I wanted to write something that was going to be sort of impactful and powerful, and just something like a piece that can be consumed by many different folks. And I think that's what I did.
So you've been wanting, I know these subjects run through your mind all the time.
Absolutely.
How long did it take you to write the article from from pen to paper?
You know,
Go ahead.
Well, I wrote, gosh, man, it must have took me maybe like 2 weeks, because a lot of times, like, you know, when I catch a fire, I can write something that instant. Right. But, you know, I kind of put it down, started working on something else, you know, would kind of like work through things in my head, come back and do it. And so once I figured out exactly what I wanted to say, you know, I just sort of finished it. And, you know, I had my fiance, she edited it. You know, one of the great things about working with Michelle, my fiance, is that she challenges me as far as like, well, you know, do you really want to say this? This is kind of fluff, and you should really expound on this. So yeah, like, you know, and it turned out well, and I wanted it to be published on sort of a bigger platform than what I've been normally writing. So I reached out to some good folks at Media Diversified. They are a group of UK non-white people who write about racism, white supremacy from a global subject, and like it was smooth, easy to do, and I'm glad that I was able to foster that relationship. Yeah.
So how did you find out about that platform?
Well, so I've been trying to promote my TEDx. And so, you know, just sort of like going through like different strategies, you know, how to contact different people. And so I just ran across, there's a site, I believe it's an aggregate called Paper.ly. I'm sorry, Paper.ly. I don't know.
Paperly. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Paperly. And so I believe that they are an aggregate of different websites that sort of talk about a specific subject. And so, you know, I saw MediaDiversified.org. I saw what they were doing, and so, you know, I reached out to my man. Shout out to my man Marcus. You know, we talked about it. He read it, loved it, published it like that, and you know, and it's been on ever since. And just the fact that they promoted this piece so much, man, and it's got so much love. Like, I mean, this is one of the top 5 most popular things I've ever written, and it resonates with people because I think that when you're Black, when you're Latino, Asian, just, you know, Native American, you know, indigenous, you know, person of Muslim descent, you know, we have to sort of change who we are in certain spaces. So it started some arguments. You know what I mean. A couple people kind of came at me a little sideways, so they got the block button. And but I mean, other than that, man, I'm really grateful for the response.
Excellent. Well, it wouldn't be one of your articles if it didn't shake some people up. I know you well enough.
Not at all. I
So,
know.
there you go. So for those people who are either watching this live or watching the replay who are not familiar with the term code switch, can you explain it for
Yeah.
them?
So from my understanding, code switching is pretty much talking. If you are Black, Latino, if you're a non-white person, the way that I'll say, the way that I talk with the folks, maybe, and my man Melvin knows exactly what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Like, the way that I talk with the folks may be different than the way that I speak in corporate America. And in the article, I talk about how my speech sort of squared up. It got very straight, very, 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 very strict, tight. And it just became sort of more uniform, sort of, I guess, for lack of a better term, without any type of personality and or flavor, if you will. And so, and so I just, that's what I would like to think code switching is.
Okay. For those people who are watching on the Get Vocal platform, I have given links to the article, and also I've also given the link to LeRon's TEDx talk, which has got a lot of views. So I don't.
Thank you so much.
No problem. I don't suggest you watch the video while we're on live here, but you may want to go to the article and check it out while we're on live here. Melvin,
exactly.
Before we go any further, Melvin, do you have any questions for LeRon or comments for him at the present time? Remember to unmute yourself. Can't hear you.
Unmute.
Unmute, Melvin. Unmute.
Crap.
Okay.
Okay, guys. Hey, listen, guys.
Yeah.
First of all, you guys have to understand. I'm a former athlete, so we're a little slow sometimes. Yeah. All sarcasm aside, I'd like to make a comment to Ron, man. I mean, I love that article. First of all, actually, I did not know that Dr. Vi was going to be discussing that until recently when I was looking at some information, because I love to remind people that I grew up in the Jim Crow South, and you constantly hear people talking about speak English, and their English is right. horrible. But when it comes to enunciating words and having an enriched vocabulary and those kinds of things. So as we work on the assimilation into our American culture, Ron, let me tell you, brother, that article is extremely powerful, man. And I know Dr. Biden had asked you already about what drew you to writing it. And so I won't re-ask you that. I'll just say that I'm happy that you wrote it, because again, growing up in the Jim Crow South, man, you live through people that can't pronounce words correctly, right. That their vocabulary is zero, and they have the audacity to tell people to speak English.
Absolutely right. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, sorry, Dr. Von Melman, like, we are constantly policed, right? We're told, this is how you're supposed to act. This is how you're supposed to dress. This is, these are the quote unquote schools that, you have to go to. This is a respectable occupation. This is quote unquote real music. I mean, all this stuff sort of just derives from us being policed, and something like that Melvin said, assimilation. It's almost like America wants everybody to be uniform, and I'm probably going to be using that term throughout the talk, Dr. Bob. But what I mean by uniform is no uniqueness, right? Like, no kind of flair, nothing to stand out, right? And so they want to just take every little piece of that from you. And so, and in a sense, man, like me code switching, like that is sort of me, that's sort of me fighting that, like, you know, in a way. I mean, look, you know, if you listen to my TEDx, I I speak a little slang in that. Like, you know, when I'm on when I'm in meetings, like I say stuff like, "Oh man, that's some bull jive," you know, or you know, I'll say, you know, I'll say like, "That's what's up." I mean, that's who I am. You know, that's 100% authentic to the core LeRon Barton. And, you know, other black folks have, you know, tried to come at me, have tried to say, oh, you know, you may be a minstrel show. I'm like, fam, I'm not talking like I'm ignorant. I'm just stating that, you know, if I can still keep a piece of what makes me me, I'm gonna do that.
Good stuff. Just gonna hit some comments here. Kinte, who is based on the West Coast but is in Chicago right now, says anything black people do is the chitterling circuit. And he's also saying
Wow.
when you score a touchdown, just hand the ball to the ref with your head down.
Ex- exactly, dude. Like, you know, we cannot, we can't express who we are. You know, no form of blackness is is allowed. You know, it's kind of like when I am around people of Latin descent, right? And when they talk and when they speak Spanish amongst themselves, some people may get offended, but I'm like, why? That's that's comfort. That's that's their mother tongue. So I'm not saying like that slang is our mother tongue, but it's sort of within our culture. So I think that America, as I said again, America wants to keep things uniform. They want to sort of criminalize anything that is not white, and that they want to criminalize anything that they cannot produce.
Okay, good stuff. I'm actually going to start taking some quotes from your article and have you
Sure.
expound on them. One of them is, and we've been somewhat talking about it already. You have this quote in the article: "Every black person is bilingual. We have a certain way we communicate amongst ourselves, and another way we talk to white America. Code switching, moving from one language or not language variety to another, is how we were taught to operate in a world that wants black people to assimilate." So my one of the conversation pieces I want from that is when you were growing up, who taught you to code switch?
Well,
Or is that
it,
something you learned on your own?
it wasn't something. Well, gosh, Sean, like there's two ways that I'm going to answer that. I would notice that, you know, when I would see my mother talk to white people when she would, you know, come on the phone. I'm sorry, when she would talk on the phone, I noticed that her voice would would change. It would become very stiff. It would become very, you know, prim and proper, you know, curt. And, you know, plus, you know, I, you know, was told, you know, as I was, you know, as I was younger, you know, like, you know, leave that street mess in the streets. Melvin, I'm pretty sure you've heard this one. Talk like you got some sense, right? And so what I took that as is that talk very, you know, try to emulate white people. And so, you know, I spent a lot of part of my life, man, like, you know, doing that, like, you know, as I said before, straddling two worlds. And I just got tired of it, man. I mean, it's just, you know, hella exhausting.
And I appreciate everyone that is here. And two things. First things first, if you want to take a seat, please, more than welcome, or keep the comments going on the side. Appreciate it, not taken for granted. It's very interesting. And I'm gonna put this out to everyone on the audience too. Have you ever had the experience where you have spoken to someone on the phone and you can tell that they're, how can I say, non-melanated, as and then they think that you are non-melanated. And then when they meet you in person, you can tell they're sort of caught off guard.
Absolutely. Yes. 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 Man, look, I think every black person has experienced that. There are times where I've had job interviews, and and in IT, it's usually sort of a 2 or 3 step process. First is the phone screen, then you meet with one set of people, and then you sort of meet with a group of people. And so, I'm pretty sure there have been times where, I've had a successful phone screen. I come into the office and they're like, "Whoa, hey, you're LeRon?" Sure. Like, you know what I mean? And so, that's the to quote Yvette Carnell, that's the cost of blackness. That's one of the facets.
I'm going to put up, you've done a lot of traveling because I keep a watch of you on Instagram.
Yeah.
Well, see, and Kinte is saying my name gives it away for me.
Right. Listen, like, my name's LeRon. So if it isn't spelled LAURENT, then, pretty much LeRon doesn't sound like Bobby, it doesn't sound like Thad. So, you already know, could be a brother, you know what I mean? Could be one of my beautiful brown folks, but definitely not white. So, you know what I mean?
Well, welcome to the conversation, Mr. Andre
Dr. Bob,
Harrison.
how's it going? Melvin, LeRon. So while this was happening, I was listening I was watching your TEDx.
Thanks.
Dope.
Thanks. All right, brother. All right. Nice. That's what's up.
If I may,
please.
And I agree. Like who we are is who we are. Let me put this out there. What if I have the view that being able to code switch puts me at a higher advantage than everybody else? So let me explain.
Sure.
Let's look at communication, right?
Right.
Effective communication is being able to say something in a way that the other person is able to understand, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Many times it's not really when we look at code switch, a lot of it has to do with accents and how we enunciate and pronounce certain things. But in essence, effective communication is being able to say something that the other person can understand. So a lot of times people who are effective communicators may change up how they talk, maybe their accent, even the language, so that the person that's listening is able to get it. So a lot of times we may think that I want this person to accept me. So I'm going to say what I want to say, how I say it, and they need to accept it. And so I'm going to put this question out there. So if I do code switch and my motive is so that the person that I'm communicating with can understand what I'm saying, is that a bad thing?
So that's a really good question, Dre. So I don't judge any non-white black person. I don't judge anyone who code switches. Some people feel like that they have to, or that they can communicate different styles with different groups of people. Hey, that's great. You're like, do what you do. I feel like that I am a fairly good communicator, and that I can talk the way that I talk to a large swath of people, and they understand where I'm coming from. It's just, for me, Dre, like, at this point in my life, I just don't do it anymore. But if you feel like that you need to do it. So I guess one thing that I want to say with this piece and with your question is, like, I don't want us to be judging us. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, like, we all sort of, the word that I'm looking for, we are all impacted by racism, white supremacy, the same, but at the same time, we all internalize it very differently. Yeah. So if you feel that you need to do this, because look, at the end of the day, we're all trying to survive this system, right? So if that's what you need to do, and if you're cool with that, I'm good with that, because my whole thing is like, I'm going to criticize the system, not the participant.
Yeah. Remember back in the Blab days, Dr. Vi, where they had, was it the hearts or the applause? If they had that, I would have been giving them applauses right now, just like lighting them up.
There you go.
Thanks,
yeah, because Blab used to have that. If anybody remember, they used to have the applause.
I will make sure I have conversations with the people at Get Woke. I will make sure that gets to them tomorrow.
All right.
That's what's up, man.
Welcome to Skia. Thank you so much that you're on. Dre, you didn't have to jump off. You could stay on. I didn't want to kick you off. Come on now.
All right.
You know I don't roll like that.
Oh, no, I wanted to, in case somebody else had something to say.
No, if someone else wants to come on, I already said, no problem. Kinte saying no fat first class seats on the slave ship.
Exactly, bro. Yo, oh my God. Hey, Kinte, I'm gonna quote you on that. Real man, incredible.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone wants to jump on, just tell me and we'll make it happen. So I want to ask LeRon, before Dre came in, you travel to different countries. You've been to a lot of different countries. Is code switching more of a challenge outside of America or inside of America when you're traveling?
I never thought about it, because I guess like my everyday speak is so sort of like, I guess, lack of a better term, it's peppered with SAT words, 70 slang. I got a couple words from my Philly guys, like, West Coast. It's all this sort of gumbo, and I guess that I've never really. The problem that I've always had overseas is the language barrier, or just different terms mean different things. Gosh, what's an example? What does the English? I'm blanking right. For example, the Irish call cookies biscuits. Like,
Okay.
you know what I mean? It's like, I never have a problem with the way that I talk. It's just different cultures, and also sort of like, calling the train the tram, calling the elevator the lift. But I've never. Code switching's never been a problem. It's just sort of like our English versus their sort of language, and sort of like the relationship between the different terms.
Gentlemen, you want to add on to comment?
Yeah, well, actually, I want to ask LeRon a question, since he's much traveled. Do you see a lot of difficulty with individuals, quote, stereotyping you because you can speak eloquently, and the opinions that you share about topics, do those opinions get shock because you speak really well? However, you don't, quote, fall into that category of saying what they think you're going to say, because obviously you're educated and you speak well.
Right. Thanks, Melvin. Much love to that. The only time that I come across that is when I'm in the United States with white folks in the United States. Just to be brutally honest, man. I never had a problem with that when I was in France, Italy, or Ireland. I just like that's never came up. It just seems like that whenever I speak to a white person here, or just someone just could be a African could be an African born black person, it's usually like, oh, so, this Negro does understand what the word tenacity means, or, it's like he is quite eloquent. So, he must have read Chaucer. Like, you know what I mean? It's so, yeah. So, I mean, that's the only time that I really ran across those issues.
Dre, did you want to add on to anything there?
No, oh, well, I put it in the thing. You're right. And I remember at times hearing, you speak so well, like from people who
Absolutely.
are white, as if it's a shock, or
it's a magical
not something
thing, man.
Yeah. A black, specifically a black male who speaks well. Well, I speak English, and so what do you mean by that? That speaking well, but I definitely understand that, and I relate to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's piggybacking off of what Dre said. It's almost like we're not supposed to talk like this, right? I mean, it's like, oh my God, don't you all talk slang? Don't you all sound like some hood Negro? Oh my God, Dre, you actually sound like you are educated. What is going on here? So it's almost like a shock to the system, because that just sort of proves that the perception of black men we're just this super uneducated group that if we're lucky, we can string together four sentences to make a paragraph.
Yeah. What's funny is if somebody was to say that, and then our response would be, "Word for sure."
I know, right?
All right, man.
Word,
Thanks, bro. Word.
For real? you did, yeah.
Yeah. Jada says that she has the same problem. Black females probably have that same problem.
Yeah, and there's also on Periscope here, Junior Forces standard. They set standards so low for us.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, because the the way that we're thought of is so low. I mean, we're not thought of as brilliant thinkers. I mean, it's funny, man. It's something that I was thinking of while I was on this call. It's like, gosh, like Malcolm X was, in my eyes, the greatest intellectual of the last century. The most popular black people today are not known for their intellect. They're known for either making sports, like LeBron James, Steph Curry, their athletic prowess is, pretty phenomenal. Or they're known for making you laugh, like a Kevin Hart. But it's like, like, where are the for every Ta-Nehisi Coates, there's like 30 freaking Travis Scotts and silly Negroes like like the Migos. So like our intellect plays a back seat. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of Barack Obama, but he's a fairly smart guy. So we have one Barack Obama, and we have a Gucci Mane. Nothing against Gucci Mane because I'm a fan, but he's not known for his dissertations. You know what I mean? He's not he's not a Dr. Curry.
Yes, exactly. So let me ask, and all the gentlemen here and the people in the audience who are melanated, what do you think of the state of when you have to code switch within the black environment? Like LeRon mentioned earlier that he's had some pushback from blacks on this article. What do you have to say about that?
Okay, so say that one more time.
Okay, I'm just talking about code switching when you can't be your true self within the black environment. You have to be, you're not speaking properly, etc. Like, obviously there is code switching when you're speaking with in non-melanated environments. But how do you handle it, or how do you have to deal with it when you're in a melanated environment?
Carefully, Dr. Vibes, because very carefully, because people have a tendency, if I might share, people have a tendency to immediately start hating or trying to project their inadequacies on you. So even though they may be highly, and most of them are intelligent, however, they have chosen. Let me put it this way: a lot of people that I know and have been involved with have chosen not to exercise the intellect that they have, trying to satisfy the brothers on the corner. When in fact, a lot of the brothers on the corner may be smarter than the guy that's trying to impress them. So that is why I said very carefully.
Yeah, and I think most people would probably just rather you be your genuine self. It's one thing to relate, and it's another thing to be. You know, I can relate to you, but I don't have to be you. You know,
that's powerful.
I can understand. Brother. Yeah, I can understand you without having to be you. And if I can I share an experience, if that's okay. So for a couple of years, I was a coordinator, supervisor at a community center in the middle of one of the New York City projects here. Tough city projects. And in the community center, we had basketball, games, dance studio, all that stuff. And every now and then, not every now and then, more often than not, we had, people in the community that wanted to come in and have their way. And in the process, they would test me as the person in charge. And I had to make a choice. When that happened, I can either get to their level or force them to come up to mine.
Right.
So I can. So when they challenge me, they beat their chest and tell me that they can do whatever they want. I come back and say, without having to get on their level or even speak the way they speak, I no, that's not going to happen here. Like, all right, for instance, for one instance, somebody wanted to use the music studio, but the music studio was closed and we didn't have staff to cover it. So this guy makes a scene, right? And he's known to be one of those guys in the community that, without question, would pull out and just start shooting. So, but at the same time, my job is to make sure that things run smoothly, and I'm not going to be moved by threats. So he's flipping out, cursing, all that stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't like the way he's talking to me, and now I'm feeling disrespected. And Andre, when he was like 19, 20, is about to come out, but no, let me not, So I let him air out whatever he had to air out. After he was done, I said, I understand your aggression. I know you're upset. I'm still not opening up that studio. And now you're going to have to leave the building, And so I'm not going to, because I want him to understand me. I want him to relate that, I'm no punk. I'm not going to be like, word, like, yo, let's do this. Like, that's not good.
Right. Yeah.
So I have a choice. I can get to his level or I can have him come up to mine. And without exaggeration, after that happened, he would come in, make sure to shake my hand. Mr. Andre, how you doing? Is it okay if I come into buildings? And that's how we were able to build that rapport. I relate to him, but not trying to be him.
Right.
Yeah,
Dre, what's crazy is like, and, thank you for that story. One of the things that, is wrong with a lot of Black men, like a lot of, well, I shouldn't say what's wrong. I think one of the biggest problems that we have in the community is that a lot of older Black men are trying to act young, right? And so it's up, like, look, I'm 40. There's no reason why I should be.
You ain't 40. Knock it off.
Bro,
knock it off.
Listen, do, bro. Like sleep, water, less
reveal
stress.
those secrets, bro.
But I mean, like, there's no reason why that I should be dressing like a 22-year-old. Why I should. I mean, truthfully, I don't even listen to the same music as a 22-year-old. I shouldn't be talking like a 22-year-old. It just seems like being older in our community is seen as something wrong, as seeing that you're out of touch. And so your story hit a chord with me, because a lot of younger Black men want to see an older black man act like an older black man, and therefore gain wisdom from an older black man. Like, I don't want to be, I can't hang on the corner. Like, yo, like, that's not it. That's played out. That's not what I should be doing, because younger black men look to older black men for leadership, how to do certain things. When I was younger, I looked up to older black men who were not doing the same thing that I was doing, so I can aspire to do what they're doing. So you showed that brother, look, I'm gonna show you a different kind of conflict resolution. And so, you know, that also delves into, you know, we don't talk the same. And I know where you're coming from. I've been you, but I'm not you. And I'm gonna need you to level up. You know, it was something that I had a conversation with Dr. Curry, and for those who don't know, Dr. Tommy Curry, author of The Man Not. I was doing an interview with him, and I said, you know, Dr. Curry, your words, you use a lot of, lack of a better term, a lot of high level language, and, you know, do you ever worry about not being able to communicate with our people, and not being able to have them understand what you're saying? And he told me, he said, LeRon, our people are very smart. They can understand what I'm saying. We got to set the bar high. And so, Dre, I think what you did was a great thing, man. Set the bar high, man. Show them that there's another way. You know, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
It's a good story. Really good stuff. There's some comments here on YouTube, so let me get to that. U4Sight4U2 says, while you can speak slang or even Pig Latin anywhere, it is the English language that gets you paid.
Okay. I mean, so talking slang is not the English language. I don't understand that. Like, that was a little strange, man. Come on, bro.
I'm just reading them, man. I'm just reading
better,
them.
bro.
I'm just reading it. Let me ask then. I bring out another conversation piece out here. I'm just talking. So Junior 4 on Periscope is saying, how do we write our future so our past does not continue to enslave us mentally?
Okay. I compared to this article, so on this call, you have 4 intelligent black men who are dedicated to pushing the culture forward, to showing that you can be your true, authentic self and be successful, practice Black self-respect, and to, you know, help others level up. I guess can you guys take a stab at that? At that comment, I'm not quite understanding what the person was trying to get at.
I would love to take a stab at that comment, because we see all the time exactly what you say, and I'll be really brief here. Is that is the major problem right now, is because our children, unfortunately, a lot of older gentlemen are still in that mode of, we have to assimilate to someone else's mindset. So we will never, and I mean never, we will never move forward as a people of color, because we still allow the plantation owner to set a plantation type atmosphere. And we allow ourselves to be stereotyped because we refuse, many of them, to use their innate intelligence, even with using, quote, slang or whatever we want to call it. See, that to me, that is the difference. You know, okay, I may say warm, but I'm intelligent enough and I have a large enough vocabulary to know that ID, tepid, still means warm. That is where our young people get confused. And that's why sometimes they do not understand, as you're talking about code switching, is that it has nothing to do with your intellect. It simply means it has to it simply means when the young brother alluded to, you have to speak English to get paid. I know where he was trying to go, but sadly, again, that slave mentality that we possess, we fail to understand that, yes, I share comfortably with my sisters and brothers in the hood, et cetera, et cetera. However, I can sit and hold a conversation with Ray Ray around the corner, and I can sit and hold a conversation when I have an intelligent president with the president. That's where we get confused. And so that's why when I express and when I'm talking to young men all the time, is that that's how we take our future forward and still be, if we want to be us, so to speak.
So can I put this out there then? Then let's maybe look at the code switching and let's see if we can differentiate code switching from having vocabulary. Because because I think in essence that's what it probably is. Because if we even if we talk slang but then use big language, we could probably be accused of trying to talk like white people because we are using bigger words than normal.
Right.
So is that are they two different things? Are they the same thing? So like if I have vocabulary and I'm using bigger words in the right meaning, is that still a form of code switching if I dumb down my speech to talk to other people, or should I not do? And I think I already know the answer. I'm just throwing this out there for conversation piece. Do I dumb down my vocabulary based on who I'm talking to? And if I don't, or if I do, will that qualify as code switching?
That's interesting, man. I mean, like, again, the whole purpose of the piece was to, was just to tell my story and to just tell people, be comfortable with who you are. If you're comfortable with code switching, cool, but I'm not. And so I like to mix saying that's what's up, word up, with saying things with using words such as truculent, with saying like acquiesce, I just sort of I like to go back. I like to go back and forth. That's just the way that I talk. So I'm not going to remove certain words to make you feel comfortable. And so I think that, going back to what you're saying, Dre, I think people are sort of getting vocabulary and code switching sort of mixed up. When I was coming up, man, I would see Black folks who would just be on the corner, just shooting the shit, just, talking like they just all the way live, right? And then as soon as they would get around white folks, they would just have a whole just a whole new set of vocabulary, just the tone, not just, we don't even have to talk about body language, right? Because I mean, even like body language would just, change. And I mean, we all know like Black people, like Black men especially, are naturally perceived as being aggressive. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, I remember listening to an interview with this woman. She was sort of a career coach for Black people, and she said that sometimes Black men had to sort of alter their tone of voice because they don't want to be seen as sounding angry. So it's all sort of related to code switching. Your vocabulary has nothing to do with it, man. I mean, you can talk as many 25-cent words as you want to, and still say dope. I'm
a teacher, and
right,
if a student doesn't, a good thing. That writing is dope. Good job.
That's what I'm saying. Dude, exactly. Dre, that's a part of our culture. Now every Black person is not raised around that, right? Every Black person that's why I'm saying it's a cultural thing. It's not a racial thing.
Okay, let me just catch up because there's
Shout
a
out to Melvin's wife.
whole pile of conversations going on in the room. So I just want to catch up here. No, it's all
Bring
good.
it.
Okay.
Bring 'em.
Okay. Melvin says we are viewed as being aggressive by our oppressors. Jada says, shout out to Melvin's wife. She is always making an appearance in the background. There's also, we've got here, Ryan says in Alberta, which is in Canada, where I live also, it is the white corporate guys that speak urban slang in the office. People say I am not black enough.
Wow.
Also,
wow,
Ryan is saying
that's too
a
bad.
great communicator knows how to speak to all audiences. If you cannot get the message through, there is noise. A great communicator removes the noise. So there you go.
What are you gonna do, man? I mean, like, look, like one of the things that they tell you in public speaking is to know your audience, right? Number one rule with public speaking: know your audience, know who you're talking with. I mean, that's pretty much for everything, right? I mean, like, like when I write an essay, who am I expecting this piece to be read by? Who am I directing this to? Who is the audience? With that being said, the way that I talk to my homeboys and the way that I talk to everybody else, I'm not gonna talk the same way to my grandma. Like, you know what I mean? Knowing the audience, I mean, but at the same time, Ryan, I'm not gonna alter who I am. I'm not gonna remove parts of LeRon Barton to fit in. Like, I'm a square peg in an oval hole, man. I mean, that's just who I am. Like, and I'm not ashamed of that. Yeah. So, like, I'm not gonna conform. Some people may call that selling out. Some people may call that, getting by. Again, Black people, do what you have to do to get where you got to get. Just know that I'm not going to go that route.
Okay, before we go further, there is an open seat. Dre came off, so there is an open seat.
Oh,
Jada,
man. Shout out to Dre, man.
No, and we got Jada coming on, but as Jada comes on, I just want to shout out to JNF Enterprises on Periscope. He has some comments here saying those of us who are in the position must be passionate and forceful about shifting the mindset, elevate the conversations. We find effective ways to communicate with who our audience is. Welcome, Miss Jada. How are you?
Jesus, y'all niggas, excuse my language, but like, I'm sorry.
We get the beautiful ones here, my friend. We get the beautiful ones. How you doing, Jada?
I hear you, LeRon.
All right.
It is what it is.
Okay, so Jada, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you? How's everyone doing?
Outstanding. We lost Salon for a bit. What do you have to contribute? I know you have some stuff to share, so please share with us.
Okay. As far as code switching, I always feel like when I hear people, even people of color, when I hear people make ignorant comments about, excuse me, I'm not feeling too well, right? And when I hear people of color make comments like, oh, why are you speaking like that? Or, and I literally, and so in the comments that I'm not code switching for anyone, right? And the reason
absolutely
that is because I'm going to just stay true to who I am. And this is the way I speak. So you either take it or you leave it. So just like how when I'm around Black people and Black people that don't know me too well, they're like, they're always kind of like shaking their head or just like scratching their head and just being like, why do you speak like that? And I'm like, speak like what? And it's just like speaking properly. I don't understand.
It's who I am.
Exactly. And it really is. I remember not too long ago, my husband and I, we were in a lift and the driver had said to my husband, he was like, "Why did your lady speak like that?" And he says, "What?" And literally, I got so offended, and I hate it because, again, so I'm Hispanic and West Indian, and so both of my parents have heavy, thick West Indian accents, right? Excuse me.
Yeah, man.
In my household, growing up, and so in the beginning of this conversation show, I remember Dr. Vibe saying to asking you guys as far as like growing up. So for me, growing up and speaking properly was really important in my household. And that was because of my dad really enforcing that, because being that they had really heavy, thick West Indian accents, right? And a lot of times people really weren't able to understand them. And I'm first generation here, so it was like very different. So anytime I would pronounce something, my dad was quick to make sure to correct me. And so, and I went to private school my whole entire life. And not to say that that has anything to do with it, but I'm pretty sure it probably did. And so that being said, speaking a certain way was really important and crucial in my childhood and my development. And so now that I'm an adult, it's the same thing. And so when I even hear, and so it's weird too that when I hear other Black people making comments like that, but not only that, but other Black people saying that, hey, we should be able to switch it up and stuff like that. And it's just like, you don't ever hear white people switching up whatever to be comfortable around us. So for me, I have a problem with that. Because it's like, why can't we wear hoodies? Why can't we do this, whatever? Why do we always have to conform to them? And to me, it doesn't make sense. Like, go ahead.
No, like, that's real talk, Jada. Like, the sister on here, she dropping knowledge. Thank you very much. Listen, here's the deal. She said something really important. Two things. White people don't have to do that when they go around their people. Now, okay, white supremacy, that's the standard. We understand that, but it's like, like, man. So, in my eyes, greatest rapper to ever live is Ice Cube, right? And he in this song called "True to the Game," he said something. Now ask yourself, who are they to be equal to? And it's like, why can't why do we have to make them feel comfortable? That's what the whole racial conversation is about. That's what interacting with white people on a real level is all about. We have to make them feel comfortable so they don't think that we're gonna just jump off the porch, break bad and all that. The sister said, "Why can't we wear hoodies?" It's this code. And Dr. Bob, this is something that I said within the article. Code switching is just another part of respectability politics. That's all that it is, man. It's what it is that we are trying to appeal to their moral compass or their morality, to have them believe that, oh, you know what, they are nice, they are intelligent, they are worthy of being treated as if they're people, and not animals, or not the other.
Yes.
So I mean, yeah, like I'm done with that, man. Like, and that's what I'm stressing. Like, in a system of racism, white supremacy, there's really, when it comes to Black folks surviving, unless you're doing stuff just out of the crazy realm, there is no right or wrong answer as far as survival. Because again, as I said, we internalize it all differently.
Yeah.
Some Black people feel like that they have to sort of straighten their hair, that they have to change their name, that they have to run with a different crowd. Hey man, you know what? If you want to do that, do that. I'm not knocking you. I'm not judging you. just know that this black person is on the other side of the fence. I'm not doing that. Now, may I miss out on some opportunities? You know, could I get farther if I did that? Probably, but I wouldn't be able to sleep at night because, as Jada said, like I would not be.
Yourself.
I would not exactly. I would not be my. I would not be myself.
And I feel like, sorry to interrupt you, but it's just like, again, this is me, right? This is all of me. So if that doesn't work for you, that's perfectly fine. To each his own. And we don't, and so even though you said, like, you know, you made a comment about when it comes to maybe, you know, doing business and stuff like that, or, you know, missing out on opportunities, then that wasn't for you. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's how I feel.
Absolutely.
I feel extremely strong about that. It's just like, look, this is me. Take me how I am. You know, so me comes in many different forms also, though, right? Because I could be really sweet and just, I feel like everyone, right? I'm a really aggressive. I'm from the Bronx. So, you know, there's a little to me, you know, there's like a little umph to me. And then there's like a really sophisticated side to me. And there's just layers. And I think that's
right.
Right. So I think when I hear certain things and certain comments, it does rub me the wrong way because I'm just like, you never ever see them conforming to us. Like, I remember my husband telling me he was in an elevator in one of the offices in New York because we go back and forth from Atlanta to New York. And in the New York building, there was my husband's like 6'5", right? So, and when you see him out of slacks, he looks like a typical, like anytime we travel out of the country, people always come up to him and they think he's either like a football player or a basketball player or something like that.
Right.
So, and it's just like, and then they'll see me and I'm really curvaceous, right? So they'll automatically assume like I'm some big booty chick that he just, you know what I mean? So they already stereotype us, right? So not
right, absolutely.
So when they see him though, right, in, you know, in corporate America, they get a little taken back. I remember him telling me that he was in the elevator at the New York office and how a white lady was just like, oh my gosh, like she was taken back when he got into the elevator and she was just like, oh my gosh, you're a big black man. And I was like, what? Like, you don't rub me the wrong way. Like, and I'm just like, what did you say to her? And he was just like, I didn't say shit. Like, he's like, I didn't say anything. It was just what, again, why do they always feel uncomfortable around us? Why are we always trying to make them feel comfortable? And that's, I think, the point I'm trying to, they're never trying to make us feel comfortable. I feel like anytime I'm around, again, I could really go into it. I could go in depth about this topic.
Yeah. I hear you. Before we go any further, LeRon, you said you could only be around for an hour.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to do a time check for you. If you need to jump out, no problem. I think there's more than enough conversation going on already. But you know, if you need to jump out, you can just give your final stuff and jump out. If you can stay for more, no problem.
Yeah. No. Unfortunately, Dr. Bob, I gotta go, but I really want to say thank you so much for this conversation, Melvin. It's always a pleasure. Miss Lopez, so nice to meet you. I hope that I hear from you soon. Dre, I don't know why you dropped off because, like, you know,
let Miss Lopez on.
No, it's all good. But like, I love what he had to say, and you know, Dr. Bob, I got another article coming soon. Shit, she was like, listen, people love me for this article, right? This new one, people may hate me. So I mean, you know, I'm really excited about it. It's going to be deep, and I definitely want to talk to you on the show. So everybody, thank you so much for the comments, and everyone have a Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Take care.
All right, guys. Bye.
Take care, man.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, it's
I put your Twitter handle in there.
You got me. All right. Cool. All right. You guys take Take care.
You too, man.
All right. So LeRon is out. We're continuing on the conversation. So if anyone else wants to jump in, please feel free. Just want to follow up with a comment on Periscope. JNF Enterprises says, I believe other cultures do it, meaning code switching. We have a language when we talk around our friends, and we have a language when we are in a professional setting. So I want to put out there, if there are people of cultural backgrounds other than Black, I'd like to know if you experience code switching, because I don't think it's necessarily a Black thing. So just want to put that out there. Luke, thank you very much for saying you learned a lot. I appreciate that. And Jada's great follow-up saying that's the point of conversations like this, learning from each other's experiences, evaluate experiences. Ryan, there is a seat open. I'd love to have you. I thought he'd come in. Yes. Give the Canadian perspective on this one. Ryan!
What's going on? How are you doing?
Everybody, how's your son?
How you doing, Ryan?
He's good. He's off school now, so he's super happy. We had Christmas early because he's not going to be with me over the holidays, so we opened up presents yesterday. So I'm glad to get that all out of the way.
What I love to get a Black male Canadian perspective on code switching.
Oh, it is multifaceted. I mean, on one hand, and I'm going to talk from a disabilities point of view because I have dyslexia. And I also am an introvert. And I was born in Calgary, when Calgary didn't have any Black people. We've just gotten an influx of Black people in the last 10 years. So, and that's Africans and people from different nations coming in. So we are Canada is known to be multicultural, and there's a lot of code switching, for every culture. And Dr. Vibe, in Canada, we have different associations. We don't have Black associations in Canada. We have Trinidad Association, we have the Jamaican Association, and whatnot. In Calgary here, we have a lot of Jamaicans. So everybody have the accent. So, say, you know what I mean? Like when I see my people, I'm like, wow, I got a code switch because it just depends on, and I'm from Trinidad too. So what's up, boy? There's so many different cultures. And when I see my Muslim brother, it's like, assalamu alaikum. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff happening.
Yep.
So, it's really hard, especially in Calgary, because Calgary is known as a hick town, and a lot of the white males here, they use a lot of urban slang, and I mean they learn it where we learn it, BET or whatever channel is on, because we don't really have that Black culture where I'm from, and it makes it hard for a guy like me because I was born in Calgary. I was taught the Queen's English. And when I speak, people are like, especially when I talk to clients who are African-American in the States, I'm like, hi, my name is Ryan Perez. I'm calling from Bowtie Creative. How can I help you? And then when they see my picture, they're like, I didn't know you were Black. It's like, excuse me? I am Black. Like, and then people, the way that I speak, people think that I'm weaker, and they think that I'm not Black enough. I often have people try me and try to, push their aggression onto me because I'm polite. My mom taught me to be polite and well-mannered, because I would have got licks. I would have got beat, at home.
Yeah. And I would still get them now.
My grandma found out that I was cussing or misbehaving, I would get in trouble. So my sisters and I, my mom, we all speak the same way. So when I'm speaking to people, they'll first tell me, you articulate yourself so good as a Black guy, and you're like, excuse me? Or they flip it. They're like, yo, what's up, my homie? Like, what's up, dog? Cool. Like I had Malcolm's mother. We live in a predominantly not like the neighborhood that I live in is predominantly, like upper class, and there's not a lot of Black parents. So my son, all he has is white friends, and the parents are like, "What's up, man? How you doing, Ryan? Like, what's up? Can he hang? Can he swing with us?" And it's like,
oh, wow.
and I have to remind people, like, because sometimes people get on my nerves. I have to remind people, I'm like, yo, cut that out. You don't have to do that with me. And I had the similar experience going to Jamaica, because I can speak Patois fluently. I can understand Patois, but I was speaking it, and people were like, they thought I was from there. But I realized I didn't have to speak Patois. I could just be myself. They respected me more when I was just being me. You know what I mean? And just talking the way that I talk, because to a lot of people in my community, they look up to me. They're like, you know what? Ryan has it all together. Ryan is an inspiration. He's always working hard, and he's always got something smart to say. So I had to learn over time not to code switch. And furthermore, I had to learn also, I actually learned this because I became an entrepreneur, because being a dyslexic and being someone that's introverted, it's hard to talk to people. So creating my own environment has been the way that I can survive. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it gives you anxiety sometimes going out, and talking to people and going for job interviews. And I can't, even though I can articulate myself, but sometimes with my dyslexia, sometimes the words just don't come out properly. And it makes me look like I'm ignorant. Makes me look like the stereotypes that they're trying to imply on, or trying to, put on Black people. And I'm saying Black people are not a monolith. We're not all the same. We don't have the same culture. We're all different, especially here in Canada. So anyway, I didn't want to talk too much, but that was just my perspective.
Oh, Ryan, that's good stuff. And I can relate a bit too, Ryan, what you're saying with the way you were raised. I'm the same way. My dad was a public school teacher, right? For 38 years. There was only one way I was allowed to speak. If I spoke anything else, there'd be licks. And even to this day, there'd be licks. So sometimes it's just so ingrained in you that you don't know nothing else. And sometimes you have to find yourself and say, you know what, I got to break out of that, because that's not really me. Like, he's not on anymore, but LeRon said it's almost like you're wearing a mask. And when you're wearing a mask, it's not a good thing.
But guys, as an American, let me say to you guys, blame it on America.
God bless you. God bless you at this time in history.
Listen, I am sitting here loving what you guys are saying, because blame it on America, man. I'm telling you, I can't speak for all Americans of color. However, because there is such a push in America right now, and again, I tell people all the time, I have returned to Jim Crow South, born and raised here, is that it is an identifier in a way to separate the fact that you are not, quote, weak, or you're not so lost of yourself until you feel like everything that you do has to be an assimilation into a less melanated world. Now, that's good and bad. It's good simply from the standpoint of self-esteem, how one might see it, but it's bad from the standpoint of when individuals see themselves buying into what they have been told since slavery, is that they are less intelligent, they have nothing to offer, and all of those kinds of things. So it kind of gets back to the original conversation about code switching, is that we have, unfortunately, in America, a lot of people are still confused to this day where they are, who they are, and where they're going. So I alluded to earlier, Ryan, when we were talking about vocabulary as opposed to using slang. So you have a plethora of things working here, and everybody have fooled themselves that America is the blueprint for the world. And let me tell you, brother, and I'm done as well, because I was talking earlier. Let me tell you, brother, people that live in America, if they be honest, most people, this is the only place they've ever been. So what they are exposed to are other Black people that are trying to assimilate in a racist society. What they are exposed to are people that are part of that racist society, of whom I should call our less melanated brothers, who have bought into the lies and all of the things that they've been told. And what's happening now is that since all of these lies and myths are becoming unraveled, now there is a push to protect those lies and myths that have been made about people of color. So you have a dichotomous situation where people don't really know how to deal with it, but they hide behind the moniker of being American, so you can make everybody think that you got it all together when really you don't. And I'll leave it there.
Good stuff. Strong.
Wow.
Jada? Yeah, man. You know, you took this to the next level, Jada. So we're counting on you.
Like, I feel like Marvin just capped it. He just dropped the mic and then just walked off.
So let me ask, when you see someone else that is, quote, code switching, unquote, do you react to them? Do you call them out, or do you just let it be and say, you know what, that's not me. I'm just going to stay away from it.
No, I think.
Oh, sorry, you're talking to Jada.
Let's take Jada. Jada, go ahead. Ladies first.
Right. I think for me, depending on my relationship with that individual, if I'm close to them, I definitely would probably pull them aside and ask them, like, what's that about? If I've never seen it before, because I'm very vocal around my friends. So anytime if they're doing something in front of me, I'm quick to kind of nip it in the butt. But if it's someone that I'm just meeting or I'm not that close to, I could care less. I mean, I think that's them as an individual. So for me, who am I to judge? Like, again, to each his own. So for me, I know. And so I did want to go back real quick to what Ryan was saying. So being that I am Hispanic and West Indian, I do get at times where, so I didn't even think about that, because I was just thinking about when I'm here, like, you know, in this country, but when I am around like certain family members and stuff like that, or when I'm around other West Indians where we, you know, the accent will come out. And then if I'm around Hispanic people, I'm speaking Spanish. So there are moments, but again, I have a lot of layers, like I said prior. So, excuse me. So for me, it's like, and I don't want to say it's not me being myself, because again, all those things are a part of who makes up Jada Lopez. So I don't think for me, in a sense, it's code switching. I think it's just me being myself. And me being myself, at times, I'm going to speak properly because that's just the way I speak. And when I'm around my West Indian friends, you're going to hear my accent come out. When I'm around my Hispanic friends or my family members and stuff like that, you're going to hear me speak Spanish. And that's just what it is. So, yeah, I did. And I didn't think about that until Ryan said that. But I was just like, oh, yeah. So I guess, you know, depending on who's around, I may switch up. But again, that's just me, though. I don't think I'm really being someone I'm not. Again, I think that's just layers to me.
Anyone want to add? Ryan, you wanted to come in. Go
yeah.
ahead.
I was just when I see that kind of stuff happen, or when I see other brothers, you know, trying to get their way through the workforce or just changing who they are just to fit in and whatnot, I don't necessarily intervene, because I realize that anytime you express, this is my opinion, and I mean, maybe I'm not informed enough to really speak on the topic, I don't know, but because we're all different, we all live in different places, but I don't try to correct anybody, because everyone has their way of surviving. And when you, like, for example, because there are brothers that are like, well, black women should straighten their hair, you know, and comment on how I speak, and that I'm not black enough because I don't like this and I don't like that. I feel like I let people communicate the way that they have to. You know, if they're open to learn and to grow and to be better, I think when that conversation, when the door is open, you allow that to happen. But you can't really correct people on how they choose to survive, especially here where I live, because everybody, like we have it's not just, we can't just group all the Africans in one group. You have the Somalis, you have the Nigerians, you have the Ghanaians, and they all speak different dialects. They all represent themselves in different ways. So it's really hard to, tell people how to assimilate into mainstream culture, but I think that if the door is open for them to learn more and you can share that information, you do, but then you can't really say anything to somebody that, if that's their way of living their life. I don't know if I said that properly, but I had the idea in my head. It didn't come out the way that I thought it.
No problem. One of the things that one of my longtime regulars, Victory Unlimited out of Memphis, Tennessee, has said many times is that Blacks need to be aware of the illusion of inclusion. And I'll just let that simmer. I'll let that simmer for a bit. And I know Rico is in here. Oh, and Ryan has left. So Rico, if you want to come in, because I know you're saying, he said, I'm still trying to understand the conversation. It appears that many of the speakers are identified in code switching different. Well, ask and we shall receive. Rico is in the house.
What's up?
Everything,
hey,
brother.
How y'all doing? Yeah. First of all, great conversation. I wish I had a chance to
How you doing, Rico?
How you doing, Melvin? How you doing, Jada? Yeah, great conversation. I guess I don't like to get into conversations unless I understand what's the topic, fully understand the topic. And from my understanding of code switching, it appears that it usually happens within the same conversation. I guess how you are kind of switching your dialect depending on the particular context of a conversation or setting. For example, I might, and also from my understanding of code switching, it's not just words, it's behavior. It's how it's your mannerism. It's how you when your homegirl kind of move that hand while she's talking, and then later on she's talking about something else with her homegirls in the same conversation. She's like, man, let me tell you something. Next time, yada yada yada. Oh no, I would never let that happen ever again. It's and the reason why I think that's important is because we always like to say we as African Americans or Blacks aren't monolithic, and we use this term. I think we use it a little too loosely. I think we're not even monolithic individually. I think that's something we really got to be careful with. Individually, I even see myself as monolithic. I don't handle every situation the same way every single time. I don't have the same perspective of something all the time, the exact same thing. I don't watch the same movie and react the same every time I watch that movie. I think that's part of growth. That's part of evolution. That's part of saying that not just one particular part of our life or environment shaped us, but many facets in many different environments, and being exposed to many different things has shaped and molded us. So sometimes I extract different things from different experiences, and that comes across in my conversation. That comes across how I communicate with people. What I was trying to get an understanding of is code switching isn't mean being non-authentic or not being genuine. If it is, then I totally understand it now. But I don't know if that's truly the global definition of what code switching is. I think we're all kind of making it a little bit subjective, because I've heard some people say, Ryan mentioned that when he's speaking his native tongue or language. Well, that's not really necessarily code switching if the people in your family, that's how they talk, and that's the only way to communicate with them. So I don't know if I would necessarily identify, I have a lot of people in my family that's from different cultures. So I know that if I want to have a conversation with them, but there's other people in the room. For example, a friend of mine's wife is from Germany. His daughter is bilingual. She speaks fluent German and fluent English. He's not very good in German at all, speaking German at all. His daughter can have a full conversation with the three of them, but she's talking German and English. But I wouldn't necessarily call that code switching. That's her communicating with the entire family, communicating with her dad in English, communicating with her mother and her mother's native tongue. And also when the grandparents are there and they can't really expound and communicate using American English, then she understands at a young age that I have to switch back and forth, but she's being completely authentic. She's making sure that I can have a complete conversation with my grandparents, my dad, and my mother. And last, I would even say this from a community perspective. I don't think it's that problematic that we see the need to ingratiate ourselves, even through a conversation with members of our community, when we know that's how we grew up and that's how they talk. For example, I grew up in an area where it was really, really rough, and there's a lot of things that happen, and those guys are still there. They're good guys, but they're part of the reason why I'm not there, because of how they looked out for me, and they made sure that I didn't get caught up in some of the things that they got caught in. They made sure that I was one of the ones that got out. Well, they still communicate a certain way. So when I go and I talk to them, I would be lying and saying I'm not code switching, but it's very genuine. Matter of fact, it's so organic. I don't even know what I'm doing, because that's how we talk. And I would even see it and for me, I would even consider it somewhat disrespectful if I don't acknowledge that this is how we communicate. This is how we are intimate with one another as men, as far as how we share these conversations and how we relate to each other. So I was just trying to get an understanding of the term code switching, because I feel like, and I don't think there's any right or wrong answer, because I think there's so many ways, but I kind of was just trying to grab hold to it, because I felt like there was so many different definitions, but they weren't all necessarily tying in together. They weren't necessarily connecting. So I was just trying to get an understanding. So that's all it was. But I think everybody was just brilliant in how they expounded on the topic, and I enjoyed listening to it. But I was just trying to get a good understanding of it, because I think there's so many different ways where you can. Because last but not least, you said, "Would you call somebody out?" Well, how do I know they're not genuine or authentic? How do I know that that's not? How do I know that they're not in a safe environment when they feel like, when I'm around my boys, it's almost a sign of disrespect to talk any other way? But that is who I am when I'm around my boys. That is how I communicate when I'm around my boys. So that's all I wanted to share.
So
Jada.
For me, the way I interpreted code switching, I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard that term anyway, right? So when LeRon, that was his name? Yeah, LeRon. Right, when he was here, I think for me, the way I interpret it was that it was just you not being yourself around certain people. That's what I got from it. It was just like you code switch when you get around certain people and you're not being yourself. So again, just to piggyback off of what you were saying, Rico, I think, when you are around certain people, you switch up, because that's you, that's who you are when you're around them. But I think when you're not being authentic, that is my definition, and that's what I got from the initial conversation once we start. So again, I think it's just when you're not being yourself when you're around certain people. So if this is who I am right now, and then all of a sudden I'm around my family, and it's slightly different, but that's definitely still me. I don't think I'm necessarily switching. And so, correction, I am switching, but it's not me not being myself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Matter of fact, that's why I was saying that I heard several definitions. You were speaking more about remaining authentic, remaining genuine. And I think that was very well, the way you articulated was extremely well. And I think the way everybody articulated how they identified code switching, they did a great job as well. I just felt like everybody had their own definition, and so I was just trying to grasp it, because it seemed to be somewhat subjective to how a person perceived whether or not it was something that I'm being authentic, because some of the examples wasn't necessarily dealing with authenticity or being yourself. It was just saying that it was almost like when you said call somebody out, or somebody saying that, well, I don't want to speak my native tongue because that's not me. And that's completely fine. I was just trying to get an understanding of, I think it's fair to say that for the most part, I think because of who we are, it's not necessarily a sign of assimilation. I think it's more about adapting and being responsive and being able to communicate effectively. And also just realizing that our vocabulary is broad. Our vocabulary is not just words that are things that they exist in the dictionary. You know, there are words that we have created. You know, there are words that if you think about our culture, jazz and hip hop and all these different things that were created came from started with words, and then culture and all these things kind of evolved from that. And so so I was just trying to get an understanding of the term, and I think everybody did a great job. So I appreciate the conversation.
And there he is from the Windy City.
Hey, how you doing?
What's going on, Kinte? How you doing?
Pretty good. Just chilling, listening, enjoying the show. It's pretty awesome. You know.
Nice. What do you have to say about this one?
You know what's funny is my father, who was an activist, just a community person. One thing I learned from him was he was the same everywhere. He never changed. Everything that any conversation that he would have in one room, he would have it anywhere else. He just never changed. And as a kid, seeing that with him, it made me be the same way, to be the same Kinte everywhere. Now, I know some people feel like they can't do it. And hey, Danny, some people feel like they can't do it because of their job or whatever, and that's sad. Fortunately, I've been in a situation where I've always been able to make money on my own. So I never had to, I could always tell a job to kick rocks, but not everybody could do that. So, I understand, I'm fortunate, but, I just feel like it's something about having that freedom just to be yourself. It feels great just to be able to, live on your life on your own terms. And that's why I try to that's why I can feel like I could be me all the time, because it's not, my life isn't determined by somebody else, and if you can set yourself up that way, and not everybody is set up that way. If you can set yourself up that way, man, that's a great way to live. It's better than having less steaks in the freezer to have that freezer. The skin know what I'm talking about.
Well said. Oh yeah. Rico, unmute yourself. I muted you by accident, so please unmute yourself, man. That is good. I'm just going to read some comments here from you, Foresight, for you too, saying Black people are more multicultural than you would ever imagine. As you search your ancestry, you will find out that we have put seed in everybody's pond. What else? What other we got else going on comments wise? Okay, that's good. Want to shout out to Natalie Crew on the Periscope side. Thank you so much. What else we got on this one here? Anyone else want to add in on that? Or add any further comments per se? Or is everyone good? We call it. Oh, hold on. Code mix. Ryan is saying code mixing is the mixing of two or more languages or language varieties in the same speech. Some scholars use the term code mixing and code switching interchangeably, especially in studies of syntax, morphology, and other formal aspects of language. Okay,
but
we got to
but it kind of speaks to what I was sharing. Is not just language, but it's dialect, and it's also behavioral. It's also how we maneuver. How, for example, I've even known people to say that we code switch when we get pulled over by the police. How we might adjust ourselves, how we might communicate and talk to the officer. I mean, so it's a lot of a lot. That's why I was really trying to get an understanding of it, because some of it is instinctual. Some of it may also be survival. So I was just trying to get an understanding. And doesn't mean you're not being who you are and being authentic. But I think that ended up being the definition. I think the definition was really for this particular conversation was about remaining who you are, remaining true. But that's why I've always believed that, you know, we like to use the word we're not monolithic, but I don't even think, me personally, I don't, and I think there's enough sufficient evidence that we individually aren't monolithic. We don't see everything the same way all the time. We don't do everything the same way. We don't respond to everything the exact same way all the time. We are a you know, we're a combination of so many different things. We're the essence of who we are. It comes from so many different experiences in our lives and different type of exposure. So I think we're not going to always answer every question the same way either. So, but I thought this was a really, really good conversation though.
Okay. Anything else we want to say before we close out? I don't want to come close to the deadline time like we did last night. So anyone else want to add on to the conversation topic? See, now Luke has a really good comment. He says, I'm white and I code switch when I talk to the police.
That's funny because I felt, so for me, if I'm ever pulled over, I'm exactly the same. Like I would address the officer how I would address anyone. And it's always with respect though. So that being said, that's how I approach it. It's funny because I notice when it comes to body language, if I've been pulled over with my husband driving and him and I react very differently, excuse me, when we're pulled over because he's a big black man, right? He will definitely do things differently. He will turn down the volume. His body language changes. For me, I'm exactly the same. The level of my radio or whatever I have on stays exactly the same. Pull down the window, you know, yes, officer. And that's just that. She said, I speak Spanish to the police.
But you know what? That's
me though. You know what I mean? With my husband, I noticed it's like if I'm pulled over and he's on the passenger seat, he'll turn down and I'm like, no. This is me. I'm behind the wheel, so I turn it right back up. I mean, again, we all do things differently. You know what I mean? And I get it, Luke. I mean, I get it for other people.
But you know what? That's a fascinating point, and I'll close on this. I'll close on this, Dr. Vaughn. I got pulled over. I shared one story when I got pulled over when I was profiled. But I got pulled over one time when I was traveling, and I got pulled over by an African American police officer. He pulled me over, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't feel intimidated. You know, I was respectful. Because you know, but I felt comfortable. He looks like somebody I went to school with or grew up with. So I was like, but I was very respectful, and I wanted to make sure that I did everything based on. I made sure I did everything accordingly. You know, so that I didn't put myself in a compromising position. But I will say this. When I got profiled and I got pulled over by a white officer, when he asked me my registration, I said permission to put my hand in my glove compartment. Now, why did I do that? Because there's a lot of black men getting shot. So did I code switch or was I trying not to get shot? Maybe both. You know what I mean? So
I'm sorry to interrupt you, right? So that being said, a comment just like that, right? And again, I don't think you were in the room when we initially started this conversation, right? So there was a point that I made as far as white people never have to code switch around us. Because we're always trying to make them feel comfortable, right? So, and I understand where you're coming from as far as survival in this country. I get it, right? You're a black man in America, so I understand where you're coming from. You don't want to do anything stupid or any, you know what I mean? Because that's what they will say. My whole thing is, why do you have to feel uncomfortable? Why should you sit there, whatever, and ask him? Why don't you feel that same comfort from a black officer as from a white officer? They're both officers, right? So, and that's the problem, I think.
Well, I would argue and say white people probably, when you say white people never have to code switch, if you look at culture today and look at the influence of hip hop music and culture and African Americans over mainstream. No. I'm saying they do though. They may not have to, but it doesn't mean that they don't.
I didn't say that.
Like you said, right? You know, I may not have had to code switch, but it doesn't mean that I don't. I would say that I would redefine that statement and say maybe white people or people of power may not necessarily feel the need to code switch.
Can I interject?
No, go ahead,
just
Ron.
5 seconds. Give me 5 seconds. That was what I was trying to say when I brought up my experience, is because I was describing that white people code switch around me. In my environment.
I hear it all the time. Exactly.
Right? It's like, what's up? They're doing that with me, and then
all the time.
I have to code switch just to meet the.
You got to code switch to code switch.
Code switch. So that's the environment that I'm in, because white people are code switching with East Indians, with Chinese, with Filipinos, with Africans. Not Africans, sorry, with Nigerians, Ghanaians, and all that stuff. So you hear, because my baby mom, she's from my child's mom. She's from Ghana, and I mentioned this to my friends. They're like, "Oh yeah, we eat the jollof, and blah 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 blah," and it's the white people that are doing it in my environment. So it's all I was trying to explain earlier, Rico, was the inversion. It's that the situation is inverted, because in America it sounds like a lot of the Black Americans have to, kind of change the way that they respond to their professional situations. But when you go into our situations, and maybe Dr. Vide can verify this, it's the other way around. It's people trying to fit in and hodgepodge and taste every culture.
And let me just say this one last thing. So I want Jada to know that I think we're saying the exact same thing. When she said they're both officers, remember, I felt comfortable around the Black officer. I made it clear I was very respectful around him. Yes. I never said I was disrespectful to the Black officer. Hey, man, what's up, bro? What's going on, homie? You gave us some dap. No, I said I felt comfortable, and I still made sure that I treated him like an officer, but I wanted to make sure that I recognized that there is something systemic going on in this country. And I don't want to be the next person on the news. So I said, hey, I want to make sure that I'm just as respectful as I was to the Black officer, but I'm going to ask the necessary questions. I didn't give that guy any more respect. I went and asked him I extended the conversation. Instead of going to my glove compartment, I wanted to say, hey, is it okay for me to reach into my glove compartment now? Because I know y'all get a little triggered now. Instead of me saying, hey man, I don't want to get shot, so is it okay if I just, hey, is it okay? And that's something that I think that's something that we're all taught. That's something that we understand, that we have to make sure that there's certain things that I think, and that's me being authentic. That's me being genuine. That's me wanting to come home to my wife and kids and say that I'd rather see you in court than not see my kids at all. And I think that's a situation I want to put myself in the best position to succeed. But I was just saying that I would recognize and say, hey, I did change my behavior some. I did ask questions I wouldn't necessarily ask or to a Black officer, but I didn't give him any more respect. As a matter of fact, I can say underpinned behind those questions was a lack of respect, because I'm saying I don't respect you to respect me. So therefore, I'm going to make sure that since I don't think that you value me the way the Black officer may have valued my life, I'm going to ask the necessary question to make sure that you don't get trigger happy. So it's really more of a lack of respect than for the other guy, than more of a disrespect for the Black officer.
No, and I heard everything you said. And so what my issue with that in general, I think even just in general with this country, what I'm saying is that is a problem. So I'm going off the topic for 2 seconds, but I'm saying like the fact that you felt a lot more comfortable with the Black officer, and I didn't say that you disrespected him or gave him more respect or anything like that. You gave them equal respect, but the fact that your comfort level, like you got tense around the white officer versus the Black officer is what I'm saying. Or maybe I shouldn't use that word. Again, you said comfortable. My whole thing is that shouldn't be a problem. And that's the only point I was trying to make.
No, I agree. I agree. But I've had incidents with police officers growing up. So I know what they're capable of doing. So the problem is not me being pulled over. The problem is systemic. The problem is that this is Right. So I agree with you. I think we're saying the same thing, but that, I think that goes beyond code switching. That deals with the whole aspect of what we have to deal with being who we are in this country.
Being Black in America. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to end it off right there because another part is coming, but I like to thank everyone on this another epic conversation. So Jada, Rico, Ryan, Kinte, Danny, Anthony, Ellie from France, J-Mug, Ryan, my fellow Canuck, Luke, who's been here right from the beginning. So Luke, thank you so much. Also, JNF Enterprises on Periscope. Also, You Foresight, Natalie Crew, of course, Melvin Lars from Louisiana, LeRon Barton, who was the person who wrote the great article, and I will put the link again in the chat section so everyone can read it. It is a really good article. It's called Why I Don't Code Switch. So I'm just going to put the link for it in the chat section. So you click on it quick before I finish, and you'll be able to read it. I just like to say, as always, another epic conversation. I am Dr. Vibe. I'm the host of Epic Conversations. This is a place for epic conversations. If you want to find out more about what I do, all you need to do is go to my website, and I'll give you the link right on the side here. Everyone's gone. Everyone's left now, so I'm all by myself. So it's time for me to get off or stop the recording. That's the website. That is me on Twitter. Oh, Jada's back. Good. And email address. Jada, if people want to get in touch with you, do you have a contact information or anything?
Yes,
you want to
everything is Jada Lopez. So you want to find me, everything is exactly how it's spelled. It's with an I, people. People always misspell my name, and it's right there. J-A-I-D.
So is that on Twitter too?
Lopez, yes, everything is at Jada Lopez. Everything across the board. Yeah.
Wonderful. Love the branding. And before we get off on the conversation, I'm going to follow you immediately. Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to do that.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone. I guess we'll be back on whenever is.
Well, actually, I've got another so tomorrow night I have scheduled to have at 9 p.m. I haven't put it up on the Get Vocal platform, but I have a very good close friend of mine, Roger Dundas. He and his wife are the publishers of Canada's #1 Black magazine called ByBlacks.com, and they are going to be holding their first annual People Choice Award for Black Canadians. So he will be. Don't worry, Danny. I'm going to follow you on Instagram. I saw that right now. So I'm going to follow you on Instagram. I'm going to have Roger Dundas on. I think we're going to be on around 9 p.m. So for the Americans who want to know what's going on with Black Canada, tune in tomorrow night at 9 p.m. And I don't think I'll be doing anything on Get Vocal till maybe later on next week. So if I don't see you tomorrow night, have a blessed and highly favored holiday season, whether it's Christmas, whether it's Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Please stay safe, hang out. Okay. Danny, okay. Rico, you're being a joker. So I'd like to say, as always, the things I like to close off with outside of my contact information. First things first, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Next up, sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions. And finally, I just like to close off with, if it would come up here, and we'll make it right quick. Time. Aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. I am Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, also 2018 recipient of the Innovation Award by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. God bless, peace to you all, keep the faith, and walk good. Good night, everyone.